The nature. God created it magnificent and chaste. He created in it a series of creatures and objects that turn it an environment fit for living. Then He harnessed it for the sake of man. With its constituents, God enabled the human being to lead an affluent life full of what imparts vigor to his soul and develops his body. Here man got a pleasing universe to contemplate. He got fresh air to breathe and glittering, delightful water to drink, as well as generous, clean soil to grow all kinds of nutrition and medicines. Man is bound to share all this with the other beings originally destined for his own good. He is supposed not to tyrannize them, because all constituents of the universe and nature are present in a balanced quantity with homogeneous elements and colors having resemblance in pattern and substances. Man was aware that nature's symmetry would improve the quality of his life. Any fault in it would disrupt this life. He knew all that, but yet denied it. Then man started to tamper. He harnessed to evil what was destined for his own good. He thought that was good. Modern industrial transition has subdued nature to various types of hazards. The environment was contaminated, and the whole life was polluted. Life in its entirety was rendered vulnerable. Illnesses, cancers, and other atrocious diseases existed since old times, but today intensified because of the man's hurtful actions. We all see such smoke emitted by the combustion processes of various sources, such as factories, industrial sites, and others. Only few know that such smoke could carry pollutants such as dioxins and furans. Chloride substances now known as persistent organic pollutants, POPs. 12 POPs have been identified thus far. All have potent, long-acting toxicogenic effects and are quite harmful to man as well as to all components of the environment surrounding him. Hence the awful appellative, the dirty dozen or the lethal dozen. POPs are organic, natural or industrial substances that persist in the environment. Transported by air, water, and migratory species, they assemble through environmental systems far away from the source of emission. POPs accumulate and magnify in living tissues such as fats and greases. They concentrate through the human food chain, especially in fish, meat, dairy products, and others. POPs seriously threaten all creatures and have adverse effects on biodiversity. They might cause cancers, allergies, and hypersensitivity, blisters, and other skin disorders. They also might decrease child intelligence, induce disorders in the nervous central system, immune system, the reproductive system, the fertility averages, and disturb gland functions in humans, birds, fish, and mammals. It is said that only 1 liter of dioxin associated with the Agent Orange is sufficient to instantly kill 1 million persons and also inflict another million with diseases and handicaps. Concentrations of dioxin could increase in mother milk. In such cases, dioxin is transmitted to future generations. Dioxin dangers were traced as birth defects even in the 3rd generation after the Vietnamese War. Aware about the threats posed by POPs to human health and the environment that accompanied birth and growth of many civilizations in Syria, the Syrian Arab Republic participated in the international consultations that led to the adoption of the Stockholm Convention. The convention aims at protecting human health and the environment from POPs threats. It deliberates a global partnership to develop alternatives to POPs, requesting parties to take adequate measures against them. The Syrian Arab Republic signed the convention and issued the relevant Decree No. 54 of 2005 and acted to benefit from the financial and technical support provided by the convention in order to prepare a preliminary assessment of stockpiles of POPs and identify priorities for restraining POPs emissions and threats. The Syrian National Plan for the implementation of the Stockholm Convention is now operational. The United Nations Environment Programme (UNEP) has classified into 3 categories the 12 persistent organic pollutants that target humans and the environment with grave damages. The UNEP 12 POPs are industrial chemical products, pesticides, and unwanted chemical byproducts. Dioxin, furan, and emission of hexachlorobenzene and polychlorinated biphenyls are all called unwanted byproducts because they are emitted unintentionally by caloric and industrial combustion processes involving organic and Clorox substances. Similar emissions are seen, for example, in some forest fires that devastate the valuable environmental wealth. Forests like these have been a very important component of the environment, but turned now into a toxic source that menaces man and the ecosystem. This resulted from harmful and irresponsible activities such as smoking hubble-bubble in the forest or barbecues under trees, practices which usually imply wood charring. Another harmful activity is burning crop residuals in the vicinity of forests, in violation of existing laws. Overpopulation and the lack of regular municipality waste deposits are still forcing waste incineration that emits hazardous pollutants. Some municipality waste deposits cause risks that disrupt public safety and the whole ecosystem. They need to be strictly monitored and controlled, improved and modernized. In order to carry out its obligations under the Stockholm Convention, Syria is acting to provide financial support to put into operation alternative solutions to open incinerations in all municipality waste deposits. The Damascus Solid Waste Treatment Plant, for example, is applying many of the appropriate waste management directives. Wastes are sorted out in order to facilitate recycling process. Some are turned into agricultural organic fertilizers. There is also a special section to treat hazardous medical wastes. They are incinerated in high-tech waste burning incinerators at very high temperatures in the least harmful way. However, the component authorities are probing better environment-friendly techniques based on sterilization, chopping and disinfection of medical wastes. The Damascus Solid Waste Plant has applied the waste embedding technology. Large areas are available there, where for burying multi-layer wastes. It is a step toward the final disposing of the open incineration of all kinds of wastes. It is hoped that the municipality could soon allocate special containers for every type of waste in order to facilitate and improve the waste sorting process. The Ministry of Local Administration and Environment has recently adopted the Safe Management Procedures Guidelines related to all kinds of municipal, industrial and hazardous medical wastes. The Ministry has instructed all Syrian provinces to work out bidding directives for the procurement of equipment for waste collection and safe disposal. Sewage sludge is another source capable of emitting persistent organic pollutants. Committed to the Stockholm Convention directives, Syria is working to modernize many of its sewage treatment stations. In this one in Damascus, sludge produced by sewage treatment is not burned but embedded and recycled into agricultural fertilizers. Elaborate processes are applied to largely minimize dangers to human health and environment. Much of Damascus sewage water is also treated here and made safe for irrigation. Much more, a pilot sewage treatment experience based on purely natural techniques was applied in the Syrian city of Harran al-Awamid near Damascus. Sewage water made safe and pure was turned into irrigation water. Unfortunately, other sites are still experiencing awful conditions regarding municipal and industrial sewage. They need prompt intervention to handle out-of-date unawareness situations. The transportation sector in Syria has witnessed enormous and rapid development in the past decades. Combustion engines release in the air hazardous emissions that could run far away from the source of emission. This is not a picture of a phantom city nor an abandoned space village. It is a symmetry of electric transformer equipment stockpiled in these open areas before finding a way of environmentally safe disposal. Some of these equipment carry hazardous substances which are still able to infiltrate into the soil and get released into the atmosphere. They are polychlorinated biphenyls, Pcbs, a class of industrial organic compounds. Due to their non-conductivity and resistance to high temperatures, they were added to the oils of electrical transformers and capacitors and thermal alternators. Such practices were stopped in 1980 when their risks to human health and the environment were discovered. Stockholm Convention ordered stopping Pcbs production and applying a global ban on all their users and their disposal in the coming years. The Syrian Arab Republic embarked on putting clauses of the ban into action. With the support of UNIP chemical program, Syria started to work out a preliminary inventory of electrical equipment that could contain Pcbs and to monitor and assess their current management. The project unit in the Directorate of the Safety Chemicals of the General Commission for Environmental Affairs has conducted analysis of the oil in the equipment supposed to contain suspected substances. The unit has also analyzed specimens of contaminated soil. Information collected on concentrations of hazardous substances in the environment and assessment of the Pcb's condition in the Syrian Arab Republic have led to scaling up efforts to raise funds sufficient to finance safe disposal of hazardous oils and equipment. In appearance, Pcbs are similar to mineral oils. However, they have heavy specific weight which does not give them buoyancy on water surface. Here we see how light oil floats while heavy oil remains underwater. Pcbs concentrate in organic materials such as vegetations and soil. They persist for a long time in air, rivers, seas and oceans. Here we see how Pcbs residuals infiltrated through irrigation water were capable enough to kill these olive trees. This is a special site for the maintenance and reparation of electrical transformers and capacitors. It is of good design and good aeration. However, staffs working here are directly exposed to various kinds of oils. Some of them are risky, so various staff members are vulnerable to diseases that could hurt their limbs and parts of their bodies. For this reason, the Ministry of Electricity is now shifting to the adoption of gas interrupters, not to import transformers or PCBs related oils any longer, and to banning the use of old PCBs in commerce. Oils of transformers in maintenance are being now analyzed to be sure that they are free of PCBs. The last category of POPs is pesticides. Statistics show that millions of toxic cases break out each year. People usually die, most of them children. The Stockholm Convention specifies 9 organic chloride pesticides denoted as POPs. Such pesticides were most effective to control many agricultural pests and harmful insects such as mosquitoes, desert locusts, and others. Later, it was discovered that they are hazardous because they pose grave dangers to human health and the environment. Consequently, they were banned and dropped out of the market. However, the solution could not handle the problem of the so-called strategic quantities and the stocks already in storage. To handle this issue, the Ministry of Local Administration and the Environment, in cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture and Agrarian Reform, have implemented the project called Inventory and Safeguarding of Obsolete Pesticides in Syria. The project was supported by both JEF and FAO. The insect pesticide lindane was used to control desert locusts, but the risks it incurs to human health and the environment were later ascertained. The project discovered enormous quantities of this pesticide deposited irregularly in defective containers, from which the toxic liquid infiltrated into the environment. The project managed to pump over 200 tons of liquid lindane in brand new drums. Special UN-approved materials were used to repackage the lindane prior to its transportation to a central storage and definitely dispose of all quantities in a safe method. Under the project, 1,500 kilograms of DDT were repackaged in safe containers and kept in regular deposits in preparation for safe disposal with the support of international bodies and organizations. DDT was considered the most widely used chloride organic pesticide due to its high potency in eradication of disease carriers. It was largely used in Syria, but was totally banned since 1978. Minimizing the risks of toxic effects of pesticides is definitely a humanitarian global task. Syria has made strenuous efforts to curb the use of agricultural pesticides. Biological control and integrated management control methods were adopted. Importation and use of pesticides banned by the Stockholm Convention were completely called off in Syria. That included toxaphene, dieldrine, chlordane, mirex, endrine, and aldarine. Moreover, other previously prohibited pesticides were never used in Syria, like heptachlor and others. The General Commission for Environmental Affairs at the Ministry of Local Administration and Environment cooperates now with all concerned parties to implement national priorities and the POPs National Plan. Among important priorities are ensuring financial support necessary for the safe disposal of deposited POPs, spotting polluted hot sites, conducting relevant studies, introducing rehabilitation methods, developing legislations and infrastructures needed for safe management, preparing POPs control training programs, and waging awareness campaigns on the dangers involved. The Syrian Arab Republic has refrained from the production of any kind of POPs and has no plans either to produce such substances in the future. The General Commission for Environmental Affairs at the Ministry of Local Administration and Environment is actively striving to enable all public and private parties and concerned institutions to implement clauses of the Stockholm Convention and to control POPs emissions.